So my name is Nikki McLean. I am the owner of McLean Collective. It's a boutique DMC representation company. And today I have one of my fabulous partners, Anna, on the phone, who is with ADA Tours. Hello, Anna. And then
Hi,
I will
Nikki.
turn it over to her so she can tell you all about Latin America and how it's great for MICE groups.
Perfect. And Nikki, are you able to admit more people? Because people are coming in, requests are still coming in. Or am I the only one able to admit people?
You might be the only one that's able to do that, but I don't know if your other
Okay, then just whoever comes in, just tell me, warn me.
Okay.
I will be talking and not seeing them, okay?
Okay.
So hello everyone. I'm going to tell you about the magic of Latin America, what there is to do here, what there is to see here, and all the wonderful experiences we can offer you here. And I hope to make you guys very enthusiastic, as we are for Latin America. So let's start, and the other people can join in. Let me share my screen. So I'm going to show you the slideshow. Right. So we are based in Brazil. We are at Tours, and we are handling all of Latin America. MICE, incentives, groups, also FITs. And we've been on the market for 23 years. And we handle like a lot of very top millionaire people, but also like normal people, like 4 or 5 stars and top-notch 5 stars. And I'll be telling you a little bit of what there is to see and do here. So let's start with the slideshow. I hope you guys are seeing this. Yes, so we're based in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, and Rio de Janeiro is a city between the ocean and the mountain. There's a lot of beaches in the city. Right now it's spring, so it's always summer when it's winter in the Northern Hemisphere. So when in the States it's winter, or in Europe, it's going to be summer here. Right now it's autumn, so it's about it's between 25 and 35 Celsius. Actually, today is quite a hot day. And someone is knocking. Okay, I have to open the screen to admit people. Yeah, just did. So yeah, I hope you guys are seeing my screen again. Hopefully.
Yes, we are.
You are? Okay, great. Because I have to get out to admit people and then get back in again. Okay, so this is Sugarloaf, the mountain you're seeing under. Sugarloaf is one of the basic tours we have to do in Rio de Janeiro. So we go up by the first cable car to the Urca mountain, and by the second cable car to the Sugarloaf mountain. And you can also climb this for the adventurous traveler. We also can do photo shoots on the Red Beach or a yoga lesson in the morning. These are the special experiences we also offer. And this is the Modern Center. This was built for the Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro. This is not a spaceship. It's actually a museum of tomorrow. And for MICE, we do some events in front of this water. We put a table with candlelight, and it looks as if you're sitting in the water, and it's a beautiful view. This is the Celaron stairs. The Celaron stairs is actually, there was a Chilean artist. His name is Celaron, and his life work since he moved to Brazil about 30 years ago was to make a staircase of different tiles. And people would send him tiles from the whole world. So you can find tiles from Japan, from America, from Europe, from everywhere on this staircase. And he would also always put tiles of a Black woman cooking or dancing or doing some activities, which was like his model. And he would be at the staircase working. He would have a big mustache like Salvador Dali, and just one of those crazy guys doing his life work. And unfortunately, he died a couple of years ago. And also, the King of Portugal was fleeing from Napoleon and came to Brazil. And the buildings you see in the historical center on the picture under were built in that time. So Napoleon was pushing him back in Europe, and he decided to escape to Brazil and to form the capital of Portugal in Rio de Janeiro. So we were the capital of a Portuguese country, of a European country, which is weird, right? So he built this royal theater. The theater is an exact copy of the Opera of Paris, built with the same materials. And we have a lot of historical buildings, cathedrals, where all those kings and queens would marry, the botanical garden that his son planted in the 18th century, like a lot of historical buildings and places. And this is when we're going up to Sugarloaf. So this is the cable car when you're going up. And at the back, you will see the beach of Copacabana. Copacabana beach is where most people will stay, most tourists will stay. And we can go swimming. It is the Atlantic Ocean, so we have quite high waves in Rio de Janeiro. Sometimes we have no waves, sometimes we have high waves. But we also have some resorts, 2 hours driving from Rio de Janeiro to the south and north, where there are no waves at all. But in Rio, we usually do have waves. We have experiences like the private breakfast at Sugarloaf, or we can also have like a little private birthday party there. That's me with my daughter. And the other day, we visited the Christ statue on the Corcovado mountain. So one of the days we do Sugarloaf and the historical center. One day we do the Corcovado and the Modern Center. And to the Corcovado statue, we go up to a tropical rainforest with a little train. This is the biggest tropical rainforest inside a city in the world. And in this rainforest, we can do a jeep tour and we can find waterfalls where we can hike to and swim in. We can see a lot of monkeys, also some other animals. So it is like a huge urban rainforest. And we have a lot of fresh air in Rio, just a lot of nature in Rio because of this forest. And to go all the way up from the train, there's an escalator. So even people that have to move around in a wheelchair or whatever can do that. And you have this beautiful view from above. And then we have, of course, the beaches, a big social life on the beaches, people playing soccer and doing whatever. And a lot of sunset places. This girl is standing at the Two Brothers Mountain, which you see at the back. This is a hike we have for the more active tourists. They can hike up to the Two Brothers Mountain, and then they can walk down into the favela. A favela is a poor community. It's like a shanty town, and it's where poor people build their houses from scratch, from any materials that they find. And usually, like, a family starts building a house, and then their kids build the house on top of their house, and then their kids build a house on top of their house, and their brothers and sisters somewhere nearby, and it just becomes a whole community. And it's those poor communities, people still, kids playing on the street, little streets up in the mountain, and we can visit them, and we can hike down and visit the favela. And a Dutch friend of mine has a voluntary project where she has a kids school for English and computer science, and you guys can visit the school or do a little volunteering with a language class or just conversation for the kids. This is another hike we have. This is called Telegrafo. It looks very spectacular, as if you're on top of the world, but there is ground just under the rock. It just looks as if you're like really on top of the world. And the samba show goes on every night in Rio de Janeiro, and the carnival goes on in February, just past last month. The carnival happens in a stadium called the Sambadrome, always in February, and the carnival happens during 3 nights: the Sunday night, the Monday night, and the Tuesday night. And the exact dates move a little bit every year, but it's usually always in February. During every night, there will be around 12,000 people parading through the Sambadrome. And the Sambadrome is a spatial stadium that's built for the carnival. It's not a round stadium, it's a prolonged stadium. On both sides, the public is sitting, and in the middle, the people are parading. And the carnival takes those 3 nights from 9 in the evening until 6 in the morning. And every samba school, there will be 12 samba schools competing against each other. And they have like very strict judges. There are like 10 judges judging all the aspects of the samba school. And there will only be one winner. So that's the best. So there will be 4 schools, 4 schools, and 4 schools in the 3 nights. And then there will be a champions parade with the 6 schools that won, and they will walk again on the next Saturday. Every samba school are 2,000 participants and about 12 allegoric cars. You will see the drummers on the picture. There are about 300 drummers. They have to drum very hard, and all the public has to get up on their feet. If the public is sitting, they get deduction in points. You have 200 older ladies that turn around their axes the whole time, dancing. You have the flag of the school bearer and her helper that has to samba around her, and she has to samba doing circles. This is the video. Okay, that was a little idea of the carnival. So that's what you're going to see on the Sambadrome. And these allegoric cars, there will be about 12 of them in each samba school, with fire-spitting dragons, with mulatas and mulatas dancing on them, and other sorts of allegoric cars. VIP seats, where you can touch the participants, cost around $1,000. And normal seats in the normal tribune that we include in all our carnival packages are about $350. There's also a Belmont Carnival Ball in the Belmont Hotel that goes on one night before the carnival. And there's street carnival in all the streets of the city throughout all of February, free of charge. Just go and party, get dressed very lightly, or just in a bikini and go and party. And that's kind of how Rio de Janeiro looks in those dates. For New Year, 31st of December, we have 1 million people on Copacabana Beach. Everyone dresses in white because we have a lot of heritage of the Africans that were brought here as slaves. And one of the African gods was the goddess of water, and the goddess of water likes the white color. And so to prestige the goddess of water, it's stated in the Brazilian culture that you have to receive New Year in white clothes, so your year is clean. But you have to wear yellow underwear, so you also have money, and of course something red in your underwear, so you have love in your life. So it's white, red, and yellow. And basically the fireworks are fire from the ocean at midnight. Will come down to the Copacabana beach, and that's 1 million people wearing white clothes. We have someone knocking here, I think. Admit one guest. Yeah, sorry guys. Someone is knocking. Admit. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. Are you guys seeing my screen again with the new year?
Yes.
So. Yes. Okay.
Yes, it just needs to go back to full screen.
Yeah, I just have to admit someone. Yeah, so from 6 in the evening, there's live music at Copacabana Beach. We all go down dancing, and then we come down with our champagne bottle, hug a million people. We count back 12, 11, 10. 1, Happy New Year, and we hug a million strangers, swim in the ocean. It's nice and warm, and that's kind of how New Year goes here. And we have fireworks firing for the next 20 minutes from the ocean. And we have a New Year ball in the Belmont Hotel, which is a 5-star hotel. Beach that's for your VIP clients that don't want to really mingle at the beach. And then we can also go to a place near Rio de Janeiro. So now we're going to start traveling around. About 3 hours away from Rio, we have this waterfall. That's my daughter. Okay. Okay, that's the experience that's awaiting you in Paraty. That's just 3.5 hours from Rio de Janeiro. We have a little village called Paraty. It's a UNESCO village. It was built by the King of Portugal. When he came to Brazil, he found all this gold, right? And he found gold, and he found gemstones, he found emeralds, he found blue topaz, citrites, amethyst. And he was like, oh, that's a lot of richness. Let me bring all that to Portugal. So he asked some Freemasons to build this little city of Paraty. And he would put all the ships here, load them on gold and everything, and ship it all off to Portugal. And that's why the Portuguese fleet was big anyway. So it's now a UNESCO city. It's a little bit of a 3.5 to 4 hour drive from Rio. You have the waterfall adventure I just showed you. You also have amazing beaches around. This is called the tropical fjord. It's called Saco de Mamanguaba. Actually, if you've seen the movie Twilight with the vampires, we'll steal that. It was filmed on this beach, the honeymoon, where they would have the waterfall and the baby and stuff. That was filmed on this beach, so it's all very tropical and beautiful. And usually, so we do a boat tour in this tropical fjord for one day. Then we do the waterfall that I showed you one day. And another day, we also do Trinidad. Trinidad are 4 beaches, the first, second, third, and the fourth beach is a collection of rocks. And it's an energetic point, a vortex, where you get energized. So you stand up to your waist in the water. Around you is a lush rainforest and nature. And you basically get all this energy from nature. And then we're driving towards Rio de Janeiro. And halfway between Paraty and Rio de Janeiro, we have the tropical coast of Angra. Angra are about 300 islands, and the coast looks like this. We call it the green coast because the green of the water touches the green of the ocean. And basically, there's a boat waiting for us, or a luxury yacht, if that's the clientele. And we have a tour of all the islands. You can also rent a private island for a birthday party or something with a villa, or you can stay in a 5-star hotel in front of all those islands, or you can just drive there, take a little boat, and continue your way to Rio. It's a point between Rio and Paraty. And also, when you have a congress or someone staying in Rio, you can just go there for a full day and come back. And another option is to stay around those beaches, at the beach the whole time, for people that want to have an event in a tropical location. Petropolis is a place in the mountains around Rio. It was colonized by the Germans. You can go there by helicopter, or you can go there by car. It's about a 2-hour drive or a 15-hour flight. And this is the summer palace of the king. His daughter couldn't bear the heat in the summer. He built this little summer palace for her. The whole city was built by Germans, so it has this German-like architecture. And when we visit Petropolis, we always have lunch in beer factory. So this is the beer factory where we also have lunch there. And also we have Búzios, as I told you, to the north of Rio is another. So we just were in Rio where the waves are high. Then we were 2 hours to the south, and then 4 hours to the south where there were no waves at all. And now we're going to another place to the north of Rio, 2 hours, where there's also no waves at all. Búzios has 22 beaches, a very tropical setting. And the most important thing about Búzios is the nightlife. So Búzios has 22 beaches, and then in the center, there's like a cobblestone streets with discotheques, bars, and nightlife and restaurants. So for the party animals, it's definitely Búzios. And for the people that like the quiet, beautiful nature, it's definitely Angra and Paraty, where we just were with you. We're going to start flying inside Brazil. It's a huge country. So we're going to fly to the south, to Porto Alegre, and we can stay at a winery. So from your perspective, every place I'm naming, we need 3 days, 2 nights minimum to go there. So we need 3 days, 2 nights minimum to see Rio de Janeiro. You can, of course, stay longer. At least 3 days, 2 nights to do the tropical coast, at least 3 days, 2 nights to do Angra or Búzios. And now we're coming to the south of Brazil. So the first day we stay at a winery, and the second day we go to Gramado. Gramado is a little village built by Germans. And we came here for the deepest canyon in Latin America. Our feet dangle above the canyon. We have a glass bridge. And the next day we zigzag through the canyon by car or even by helicopter for VIP clients. So we have a hot air balloon ride over the canyon and a picnic on top of the canyon. And the third day we arrive to a city called Florianopolis. And from here we can either fly back or we can continue our way to a further point. In Florianopolis, we also have a 4-season seasons similar property called Ponta dos Ganchos. And we also have a lot of other cheaper 3, 4, and 5-star hotels. So this is something you could extend with a beach stay. So 3 days, 2 nights south of Brazil, plus the beach stay you want. Now we're going to fly to the Amazon. The Amazon is a 4.5-hour flight to the north of Brazil from Rio de Janeiro, and also about the same time from São Paulo. So São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro are the main hubs of arrival in Brazil. So we're arriving to Manaus. Manaus is the capital of the Amazon, and there is the meeting of the waters. The meeting of the waters is where the yellow Amazon River and the Black River flow together without colliding their waters. There's a different chemical composition in the waters, so the waters won't mix. And we swim with pink dolphins, stand up to our waist in the water and have a fish in our hand, and the dolphin will come out of the Amazon River and eat the fish. If your clients wish to go to where the dolphins are wilder and don't come near people, there are also areas about 2 to 3 hours away by boat where the dolphins are completely wild and don't come near the people, and you can only see them in the water. But this is something that you can do just near Manaus, because the dolphins are used to, there's people that are feeding them free fish every day, so they just come there. There are free dolphins though. And you have the Indians, the interaction with the Indians that live in the Amazon. There's a lot of Indian tribes, and you can fish piranhas and alligators. That's me fishing on Arapaima. And Arapaima is a very big fish. Let's see if I fish one on this video. It's hard. Oh, I think I got one. No. Okay, that was the, oh, you want to see the second video? That was my adventure of fishing. Anyway, they're really big fish, and they can be up to like a person's size. This is the little anaconda. We're visiting an Indian village, and they have pets like anaconda. Her name is Clara. She's a pet to the Indians. This is an American family cooking food together with the Indians. That's me hugging a sloth, an alligator, and a macaw. All these animals are domesticated in terms of, you have cats and dogs, and the Indians have, you know, sloths and alligators. So why not? It's their pets. But they also are a lot of plenty of wild animals in the wild in the Amazon. Okay, that's one of the 5-star lodges in the Amazon. Okay, I'm not going to show you the whole footage, but there's 5-star lodges in the Amazon, which are really nice. And now we're flying to San Luis. San Luis is another national park. So we did Amazon 3 days, 2 nights too. Oh, and a little side note. A lot of people will ask for Amazon cruises or Amazon lodges. We have cruises and lodges in the Amazon. It doesn't really matter if you're staying on a cruise ship or in a lodge. You always need 3 days, 2 nights minimum, or 4 days, 3 nights to see the Amazon. If you stay on a cruise, your cruise will cruise the big Amazon River, and you will have little boats to do all the adventures, like the Indian villages, the swimming with dolphins, and the little, you know, side rivers. And when you stay in a lodge, you also take a motorized canoe, and you do the same. So basically, all the activities are the same. It's just up to you for the preferences. If you want to stay in the cruise ship that's actually moving, which is like a moving lodge, or in a lodge. A lodge has a little bit more advantage, because for a cruise ship, you have to adapt to their check-in and check-out times. And usually, you will lose 1 day upon arrival and 1 day upon departure to connect to the flight, whereas into a lodge you can go into any time that your flight's arriving. So it's a little bit more comfortable if you want to see a lot of destinations in Brazil to choose a lodge, but we do sell both. Okay, this is Maranhão. This is a national park called Lençóis Maranhenses. It's about 300 kilometers of dunes and lagoons, about 250 miles of dunes and lagoons, and at the back are the beaches. This is how it looks. Basically, you slide down the dunes, swim in the lagoons, and climb up. It's like a Sahara, but with sweet water lagoons. This is a private breakfast we did there. That was a couple, a saxophone player, and a waiter, and they arrived at 8 a.m. for their private breakfast. There was no one as far as the 300 miles around, and they were all alone. You will see the drone footage is very nice. Basically, it's rainwater that has accumulated in the lagoons. It's high season from March all the way up till October. Even November, there are still quite a lot of lagoons. It's sweet rainwater. You can swim in it. It's up to your waist or up to your chest, depending on the time of the year you're going. And it's just a very beautiful national park. Some videos. Okay, some videos for you. And the next day you do the smaller dunes, where you also swim in the smaller lagoons. And you also take a river boat ride on the Preguiças River, and you get to see some monkeys. Okay, now we're going to go to Recife. Recife was colonized by the Dutch. It's a city in the north of Brazil, and then the Portuguese came running and colonized Olinda. Olinda and Recife are 2 cities that are very different, but touch each other. One is by the Portuguese and one is by the Dutch. So Olinda has a great street carnival 1 week before the Rio Carnival, so you could do both carnivals. And just next door, they have this polka-like dance where they dance with umbrellas. It's a very happy sort of dancing style in the north of Brazil. Brazil has it's so big, it has different dancing styles. So there's not just samba that you've seen in Rio. This is more like a polka style with a little umbrella they do. And 2 hours away, we have the resort of Porto de Galinhas. There are coral reefs in the water, no waves at all. And it's a resort that has 3, 4, and 5-star hotels. And you're in the Atlantic Ocean as if you're in a bathtub. Okay, then we can fly to Fernando de Noronha Island. It's a 1-hour flight from where we are now, from Recife and Olinda, or it's a 4-hour flight from São Paulo. This was chosen as the most beautiful beach on planet Earth by TripAdvisor 23. This beach, this island always wins some award almost every year in the top 10. That's me and my family. It has these volcanic formations, as you can see. And this is my daughter with dolphins on a water bike. So we swam with dolphins, we swam with turtles, we swam with manta rays, and with nursery sharks in the water. So it's one of those last paradises on Earth. You also pay an ecological tax every day you're on the island. So it's very protected. You cannot build hotels on the beach. They're all built at least 100 meters, 200 meters away. You cannot build any infrastructure like sunbeds and umbrellas. It's like really kept very pure in terms of nature. Salvador is the most African city of Brazil. It's where all the slaves were brought from Africa to work on the plantations. It's UNESCO, and you will see these ladies that represent the African culture. I mentioned a little bit of the African culture to you. They brought their gods, so they had their beliefs, the slaves from Africa. And they had, for example, the goddess of water, the god of the earth, the god of the sun, and they could not praise their gods because the Portuguese that owned Brazil were Catholics. So they had to say it's Joseph, and then he represents the god of the sun, and it's Maria, and she represents the goddess of water. And that mix of religions got mixed up. And now 300, 400 years later, we have the religion of Candomblé, which is basically a religion of, it's an Afro-Catholicism sort of thing. They stand in a circle, these ladies dressed like that, and there's a shaman smoking smoke on you, and tourists can participate in the ritual. And then there's someone that's falling in a trance, and his eyes roll, and he falls on the ground, and it's like a very spectacular experience. So this is something you can experience in Salvador. Just where all the plantations used to be on the upper picture, now they build the all-inclusive hotels like Iberostar with over 1,000 rooms. But also we have very exclusive hotels. Ushua is a hotel that only has 10 rooms, and it's about $1,200 every night. So we have very big resorts, very small exclusive resorts, and land inwards, just 6 hours driving from Salvador, we have the Chapada Diamantina with lakes, waterfalls, and canyons. Okay, and now we're gonna go to Maragogi. Maragogi is to the north of Rio. A little bit of Maragogi for you. These are coral reefs. A lot of music. A lot of music, but basically it's coral reefs in the water, little fish, and people up to their waist feeding the fish. And now we're flying to the Campo Grande. This is the Pantanal. It is the biggest safari in Latin America. You can see here my son swimming with all the fishes. It has the most transparent rivers in the world. And this is me with my camera from my phone. It's a jaguar and her baby jaguar. And it's me filming with my phone. So this is how close you're gonna get to the jaguar. I'm on a boat and I'm just very close. Yeah, that's an otter. That's my son saying, I think she's hungry. But yeah, they don't really catch people. She just had a capybara, so she had so basically we stay on a ranch like that. We do 2 safaris a day, horseback, jeep, and boat, to see as many animals as possible. That's my kids on a horseback safari. That's my daughter who caught a piranha. She's feeding the alligator. And these guys will come and steal your breakfast in the morning. They especially like omelette from your plate. Someone is knocking on our door. Let's see. No.
I can also admit them, so I'm admitting them.
Perfect. Please do. Okay, because I get distracted every time from, yeah, please. Perfect. So let's go for the slideshow. Yeah. So these guys do your breakfast in the morning. So now we're gonna, now we have Bonito. So just near the southern Pantanal, we have Bonito. And Bonito has stalactites, the Blue Lake Cave, the most transparent river in the world for snorkeling. You can see very transparent underwater. And this is how you can see underwater. And then we have a descent to the center of Earth. This is a very special experience. Only 10 people per time are allowed in there. It's a huge underground cave. So basically you have like a low hole in the ground, and you put on climbing gear, and you are lowered in the hole in the ground. And from the side of the cave, there's a huge beam of light falling in, so it's not claustrophobic at all. You can see it on the picture. And basically, you're hanging 80 meters above an underground lake. And around you are stalactites, and all you can hear is the drips of the stalactites in the underground lake. And you are lowered. It's like a 10-story building, the distance you're hanging. Then you're lowered on this climbing gear onto a floating platform. An instructor catches you. You can snorkel around the cave. There's a saber-toothed tiger that fell in there, I don't know how many millions of years ago. And it's calcified there, so the skeleton can still be seen. And basically, when you're finished with your underground voyage to the center of Earth adventure, you get pulled up like a little worm to the Earth surface again. A very amazing experience. And then you drive down waterfalls. It's very family friendly, very safe. The oops moment. And this is the 7 waterfall hike where you also swim in each waterfall. So that's all doable together with that safari. So it's basically 5 days, 4 nights, 2 days of safari and 3 days of adventure. Very good for team building, very good also for family. That's all. And now we're going to fly to Iguazu Falls. So from Rio de Janeiro, we're flying to the widest waterfalls on Earth. So if you compare them, I think Niagara has 20 waterfalls. Africa has 30. We have 245 waterfalls. They're on the border, Brazil-Argentina, and they are the widest waterfalls on Earth. We always see them from both sides, from the Brazilian and Argentinian side. So normally, as we've just done Brazil, we're going to the Brazilian side. We have a panoramic overview from the Brazilian side. We also have the bird park, where we walk in giant cages, and the birds fly freely around our heads. And we have the boat safari where you get soaking wet, and you're going full speed in the weakest of the falls, but you get soaked. So that's very romantic. And then you can do a helicopter flight over the falls. And if you want, you can stay in the Belmont Hotel, which is just in front of the falls. But there are many of other hotels too, depending on the budget of the client. And then the next day, we cross Bridge of Friendship. So we check out with our passports out of Brazil and into Argentina. The guide helps with that, so people don't have to worry. It's just on the bridge. And then they drive towards the national park on the Argentina side. And then they walk the upper road where the falls are just under your feet. And this is what you're seeing as the Devil's Gorge. So it's when you take a train and you go to the mightiest of the fall, and you have the bridge from where you see the falls falling down under your feet. And then there's also a lower path when you and the waterfalls are just over your head. And from there, we drive to the Argentinian airport, and there's a 7 or 8 p.m. flight directly to Buenos Aires. So it's a perfect way to combine Brazil and Argentina through the falls. So you've seen the best in Brazil, you've seen the falls, and you're going to Argentina, and you're taking a national flight to Buenos Aires. So the next day, we wake up in Buenos Aires, and we explore Buenos Aires. And this is the La Boca neighborhood. This is where Italian immigrants used to arrive in Buenos Aires and build their houses from absolute scratch, from all materials they could find. That's why it's so multicolored. And you know how Italian men are very proud, and they cockfight and they find themselves very proud. And this is how tango started. So tango started with 2 men pretending they were going to fight, but not. And then about 50 years later, a woman joined the party. And there were really few women because Italian men immigrated to look for a better life in those times. And so one woman would dance with a lot of men. So everyone had 2 minutes of pleasure. They had to be really good dancers to hug her, and then she would be gone with another. So basically, that's all the tango history. And we will, of course, see a tango show in Buenos Aires. There are many tango shows in Buenos Aires because tango is from Buenos Aires. There's tango music, tango singing, tango dancing, and you can also do a class of tango if you're interested. We can also hop to Uruguay for a day. Uruguay is just 1.5 hour by ferry, and there's a ferry at 7 a.m. and there's a ferry back at 7 p.m. And a guide of mine that's very good is waiting for them in Montevideo, showing them around, taking them to a nice restaurant, and then it's time for the ferry back in case people want to enjoy Montevideo. And there's also a resort in Uruguay called Punta del Este, about 2 hours driving from Montevideo, in case people wanted to stay. There's a statue in the sand. There are casinos, yachts. It's sort of the idea of Monte Carlo sort of thing, posh hotels, and it's a beach resort, okay? And Colonia del Sacramento is just a little village on the other side, just opposite Buenos Aires, but already in Uruguay. Okay, now we're flying to Salta. It's a 2-hour flight. And in Salta, we have the wineries on the first day. Actually, there's a community of expats that set up several wineries and a little village. So there's a lot of expat society. And we take these roads, as you can see, that we drive on those roads, and we meet cowboys and stuff. It's all cowboy country. We also see the giant cactus park, and we see the 7-colored mountain and the salt flats. The salt flats are like whiteness and salt. So that's a 4-day, 3-night north of Argentina package. We can also go to Bariloche. In Bariloche, we have a lot of lakes. Supposedly, this is where Hitler fled after the Second World War and a lot of Nazis. So they say that if you dig deep enough, you will find a bunker of Nazi gold. No one ever found it, but in case you're interested, you can start digging. Anyway, in Bariloche, we visit the lakes, and we also visit the Victoria Island, which is a myrtle forest made of the special myrtle wood. It's just a very special region with a lot of beautiful lakes and places. You can rent a yacht there. We have a cello player playing on the yacht, and we have stargazing at night and winter sports in July, because, you know, July, August is our winter. That's when the winter sports are. So now we're flying to Puerto Madryn, which is in the south of Argentina. And here we have a national park that is an island. So we basically do an island tour of about 100 kilometers, 180 miles. And we do a tour around the park, and we see different animals. So you will see seals, sea lions, orcas, penguins, and of course you see whales. And this is how close they get to the boat. And this is especially the September-October season. So that's a very spectacular place to see all that marine wildlife. 3.5 hours from Buenos Aires flying is Ushuaia. Ushuaia is the most southern point of the continent. From here, you can take a cruise to Antarctica. So there's 2 ways to cruise to Antarctica. One of the ways is from Ushuaia. From Ushuaia, there are 10-day cruises that cruise about 3 days through the Drake Passage, about 3-4 days in Antarctica, and about 3 days back. That's the most typical cruise. People don't really feel well in the Drake Passage unless they're very lucky and it's very quiet. But the Drake Passage is famous to be not very quiet. So basically, there's another way to overcome that. You can fly from Punta Arenas in Chile to Antarctica, cruise 5 days inside Antarctica, and fly back. And that's maybe a more pleasurable way to see Antarctica. Anyway, the Antarctica packages are in Google Drive, and I will show you later where. If you don't go to Antarctica, if you stay in Ushuaia, you can walk with giant penguins on their island. You can fish crabs and eat them in the afternoon. You can do the Drake Bay, and you can do the Fagnano Escondido. These are 2 altiplanic lagoons. They're in the mountains. You take a Jeep in the morning and you drive to the forest, you know, over bumps and stuff, and then you drive through the water, and then you arrive to 2 altiplanic lagoons. And the guide makes you barbecue there in the forest, and they're like foxes walking around, and you have a little walk there. Very romantic. This is the Tierra del Fuego National Park. This is the national park called Fireland, and a little history of Argentina. So the Spanish came to Argentina, the boat of Spanish came to Argentina, to the region of Ushuaia, actually, in about 1,500 something. And they came with about 200 men, and they're like not the nicest Spanish left Spain, you know, like a little bit of the thieves and stuff like that. And they were like, oh, we're going to settle and marry the local woman and become very rich. It's the new land, whatever. And there were very, very fierce Patagonians in Ushuaia. I mean, Ushuaia borders Antarctica. What do you think? They're like strong winds, fierce Patagonian guys and women. And so they were firing fiery arrows to the Spanish. And about 20 Spanish were left after a couple of days, who put their tail between the leg and hopped back on their boat and went back to Spain. And they left everything behind, the 10 horses, the 20 cows, and all their hopes, right? And it was done here. Here's Tierra del Fuego, Fireland National Park, maybe because of the fiery arrows they would shoot. And then the second tentative to colonize Argentina was done in 1850-60, and the boat came closer to Buenos Aires. And instead of finding the 20 cows they had left, they found 2 million cows. And they started exporting meat. And they started being gauchos, which are like cowboys, and driving cows around and exporting meat to the whole world. And they built a huge port in Buenos Aires, and they would put the meat on boats and export it to the whole world. And they were the richest country of the world. So the stock exchange was not led by New York, and yes, by Buenos Aires in 1905. And they were exporting everywhere. And then, of course, the Argentinians have a talent to lose money. So in about 50 years, they were poor again. And there was this, economic crisis. And then they go up again and down again. It happens about every 5 years. A lot of fun. Anyway, this is the 4x4 Jeep tour to the Fagnano Escondido lagoons. And Mendoza is the wine region of Argentina. It has beautiful wineries. There are 2 wine valleys, Valle de Uco and Luján de Cuyo. You can do 3 wineries in one day and 3 wineries in another day in both valleys. There are wineries that are like Dolce & Gabbana, like very posh wineries. There are like also more popular wineries. You just get to visit 3 and 3. And 2, there's degustation. And then the 3rd, there's wine and food pairing, where you have lunch. And Aconcagua is the highest mountain in the southern, I think in Latin America. And you can also climb it for the lovers of climbing. Calafate is 1.5 hour flight from Ushuaia. So it's a perfect combination to go to Ushuaia and then to Calafate, or about 3.5 hours from Buenos Aires. And Calafate has the giant glacier called Perito Moreno. And Perito Moreno is like a 10-story building, and giant chunks as big as a good apartment will melt off and fall in the Argentina lake. It's an alive glacier. It's always melting. It's always freezing on at night. We have dinner in a cave under the starry night. We do the Argentinian traditions. This is, cowboy style, the gaucho style that they used to do. And they show us their lasso throwing skills. They make barbecue for us in the nature. We do horseback riding there. And then we walk on the pathways and we see the giant chunk of ice fall in front of our eyes and fall in the Argentina Lake. There's ice canoeing, there's ice trekking. Ice trekking is done in special shoes on the glacier. There's a short ice trekking adventure for about 2 hours, and there's a long full day ice trek for the tougher prepared ones. And there's like a cruise that goes a little bit to the back of the glacier that can be done on another day. El Chalten is Fitzroy Mountain. It's trekking paradise. You can trek here for a couple of days. And we can cross from the most beautiful national park in Argentina and Patagonia to the most beautiful national park in Chile and Patagonia. And we are now in Torres del Paine, the most beautiful national park in Chile and Patagonia. And there's a little person here in red. So you see the magnitude of this national park. And of course, we can go around the park, enjoy here a couple of days, and from here fly to Santiago. This is another place worth mentioning. It's called the Marble Caves. They're also in Patagonia, not in this location, in another location, but it's a newly place that you also need 3 days, 2 nights to visit. Unfortunately, you have to fly to yet another place in Patagonia to visit these Marble Caves, but it's also definitely one of the beautiful places of nature. So now we're flying to Santiago. So what we did is we flew down through Argentina and we're flying back up through Chile. So we combine both countries. It's a perfect package to do Patagonia. For example, Buenos Aires, Calafate, Puerto Natales with the national park, Torres del Paine, and back to Santiago. You would see 2 countries, and you cross the border in a very intelligent place where you see both of the most beautiful national parks of Patagonia on both sides, right? All the programs that I will show you later are built in this intelligent way. And now we can visit Santiago, the city, the wineries. The special Chilean wines are specifically between the mountains and the city. And basically on the other side of the mountain is Mendoza, the wine region I told you about in Argentina. And on this side of the mountain, it's the Maipo Valley around Santiago. We can also go to Easter Island. Easter Island is a 3-day, 2-night, and it's about 5.5 hours flying. It's really far away from the continent, and the flights are currently quite expensive, about $1,500 to go and come back. And you need 3 days, 2 nights to see everything, and there's 3, 4, and 5-star hotels. By the way, everywhere I'm telling you about is 3, 4, and 5-star hotels. Okay, so these are some sites on the Easter Island. If we wouldn't go to Easter Island, we would go to Calama, to the north, to the Atacama Desert. It's a 2 hours flight, and we're here in the Atacama Desert. And this flight only costs $100 instead of $1,500. So here we have different minerals in the soil and in the water that give these colors. So we have the pink earth, we have the blue lagoons, we have gastronomical experiences in the middle of the desert. And we're hopping on a Jeep. All the luggage goes on top. We pass the Salvador Dali Valley, and we're going to explore the Bolivian side of Atacama. Why not the Chilean side? Of course, we can explore the Chilean side, but the Bolivian side, there is less tourism. It's huger, it's less visited, and it's more amazing. Like it's bigger. So basically we hop on a Jeep, all the luggage goes on top, and we see the orange lagoon, the blue lagoon, the volcano, the llamas and the flamingos, the geyser valley and the thermal springs where we swim. And here we arrive at the salt flats of Uyuni. 300 miles of salt, a small layer of rain, and you don't know where the earth and the sky is. And we cross the salt flat, and we have gastronomical experiences on the salt flat, and we visit the cactus oasis. So this is all 300 miles of salt and then a small layer of rain. And this is how we cross the salt flats. Amazing scenery also. And we can stay in a salt hotel. So this hotel is made of blocks of salt. So you could basically have a tequila and lick the wall after. Okay, from here we fly to La Paz. It's just 40 minutes, and we explore the capital of Bolivia, the witch market, where you can buy amulets or herbs to fall in love, out of love, to start laughing. And the Moon Valley. The Moon Valley is only 10 minutes away from La Paz, and it has these moon-like formations. And just 2 hours away is the Tiwanaku ruins. This is a pre-Inca civilization. And 2 more hours, and we're in Titicaca Lake, and we're in Peru. This is how we smartly connected Chile with Bolivia and with Peru. Also another tour we sell a lot. And now we're in Peru, and we're in Puno, and there's the Uros Islands. So the Uros civilization did not want to obey the Incas. The Incas were like conquerors, and they were actually really cruel. I'll tell you a little bit more about them in Cusco. But basically, the Uros considered that Mother Earth and Father Sun created humanity on Titicaca Lake, and they're the navel of the world. So they would not obey some Incas that were trying to conquer them. So like, okay, keep the land. We're going to live in the lake. And they cut the dried grass that grows on the lake, and they make floating islands, little huts and little boats, and this is how they live. And we visit them, and we meet their children. And when you walk on the island, you kind of sink in it a little bit. It's really nice. This is the poshest hotel there. And we then take a touristic bus to Cusco, visit 4 sites of the Incas on our way. And then we have the Sacred Valley of the Incas. This is where most of the Inca buildings were, in the Sacred Valley, the Inca cities. There's around 300 Inca cities in the Sacred Valley. And the most important Inca buildings were in Cusco itself. Actually, the most important ceremonial center of the Incas was Sacsayhuaman, on the picture under. And if you pay attention, this is the paw of a jaguar. So it's the palm and then the fingers of a jaguar paw. I'm showing it with my mouse. Everything the Incas would build would have a second intention. It had to do something with their holy animals, which were usually the jaguar, the condor, the serpent for the underworld gods. And they would always build everything around that. Also, they loved to have these little shields, so they could put golden shields in it and consider the Temple of Light. And they would always build their special places under some mountain that has the profile of a god. Sun would shine in the morning through the eyes of the god, and the world would awaken. And they had a lot of ceremonies. And they were not really cute, nice people. So one of the rituals they would used to do is they would sacrifice one of their most talented and beautiful children. They would always choose the most beautiful and talented child, rip out their beating heart. Very nice people. I mean, you know, put it on the scale here, and if the blood would run one way or another, the way they would have good or bad crops. Of course, they would drug the child before and stuff like that, but you know, they were not really nice people, the Incas. And then we do Machu Picchu for the full day by train. So we go there by train, and then we zigzag up with a bus to the mountain, visit Machu Picchu, and go back down again. There are 3 types of trains: the Belmont train, the Vista Dome with a transparent roof train, and a backpackers train. All trains take the same time, about 2 hours. Just in one you get beautiful chef cooked lunch and music, and the other you just get music and a transparent roof, and then the third one it's just a train, and there are different prices and that. Machu Picchu for the whole day, and you have a 7-colored mountain also called Vinicunca. This is 5,500 meters. For your perspective, that's something where you can't really breathe very good. So for the fittest among us, they can do this mountain. They leave at 7 in the morning. It's a little bit of another location from Cusco, and they come back at about 6 in the afternoon. Most of it is done by car, and if people can still walk or maybe take a llama, they can go nearer the 7-colored mountain. There's also helicopters over it. And these are the other cities of the Incas. For example, Ollantaytambo would be a city where they would hold all their crops, a very important city for the Incas. And those platforms, they would have agriculture. The Incas took over a lot of the pre-Incan civilizations. The pre-Incan civilizations of these regions, for example, knew how to put the water up in certain angles through water tunnels and bring all the water up and then irrigate, you know, like give water to all the fields. So they would always have crops, although they were staying in mountains. And the guys on the islands, they were, for example, professional fishermen. So what the Incas did was unite all the talents of all those, you know, pre-Incan civilizations and take the best out of them all. This is a sky lodge where you can overnight at the top of a mountain and then upsail down into the valley. And then you can fly to Lima, explore the capital of Peru. And there's the Nazca Lines. Nazca Lines are these mysterious lines in the desert. It's about a 4-hour drive, and there are 22 symmetric figures. This little bird you're seeing on the picture, it's about 2 kilometers long. And you can only see it from the sky, because when you're walking in the desert, you see the sand is caved out a little bit. And it's a big mystery why a civilization of 2,000-3,000, I don't know how many years ago, made 22 symmetric figures over a desert that you can only see from a little airplane when you fly over them. So we take an airplane and we fly over them to see all the figures. But it's supposed they were communicating with aliens or something like that. It's still not really revealed, the mystery. And then we take a boat and we see this candelabra by boat, and we also see some seals. We can also fly to Ecuador. Ecuador is a 2-hour flight. We see Quito, which is the capital of Ecuador. It's also UNESCO, and it also is exactly on the equator. There's a museum with some fun effects, like the water will run this way and that way on both sides of the hemisphere. And, you know, an egg can stand on a nail without falling and stuff like that. There's the Mashpi Lodge, about 2 hours in the wet rainforest. Panoramic windows, birds, waterfalls, really beautiful. And you can fly to the Galapagos Islands in 2 hours. The Galapagos Islands, you can either stay on a yacht or you could stay in a lodge again. You would stay on the main island and island hop every day by little yachts, or you can stay in a yacht directly and end up near the different islands. And every island you get a snorkel and you try to see the fish that uses lipstick, or you try to see the hammerhead shark and very upset birds. On every island, there are inhabitants that do their own thing. And of course, Charles Darwin was very surprised with all these animals and wrote his theory of evolution on the Galapagos Islands. So we explore some islands. The more days you stay, the more animals you're going to see. And from there, we could also go to Colombia. It's 1.5-hour flight. We have Bogota, which is a beautiful city, the coffee region of Colombia. You plant a palm tree and it will grow for 200 years. So you give it the name of your grandchildren. Visit the little villages with their arty crafts and cobblestone streets. The best coffee in the world, also, by the way. Santa Marta is a lost city in the jungle. It's a 5-day trek. I just had a multi-generational group do this trek. The first day, you go up a sandy hill. The second day, you see some naked Indians and their children ask you for sweets. The third day, you cross the river 7 times and go up to a staircase that's 2,000 years old, and you sleep in the lost city and you see all this energy and all that. And then the 4th day you go back into civilization. There's going to be around 10 to 12 people you're going to see with you, because the groups are really small, because it's a trekking, versus 2,000 to 3,000 in Machu Picchu. So it's like a very unique adventure. You have the Underwater National Park of Taganga, perfect for diving and snorkeling. Tayrona Overwater National Park, perfect for a little trek. And Cartagena, that was disputed between the English and the Spanish. They both wanted the gold, the Spanish gold that was in Cartagena. They would not openly attack, so they would send pirates, the English, to steal from the Spanish boats, and then the Spanish would still, steal from the English boats, and they had a lot of fun. Now we have these ladies that consider themselves the most beautiful of Cartagena. They are the only ones allowed to work as photo models with fruits on their heads. So in case you are going to make your living with your fruits on your head, you can't. It's just their little village. They are 100 women. It's a little village near Cartagena, and all the men do the agriculture and all the women are photo models, and they do this in Cartagena. This is a hotel just off the coast of Cartagena, and there's a volcanic island called San Andres that belongs to Colombia. This is just a 1.5-hour flight. And we have the 7-colored river called Caño Cristales. And that's a little bit in a nutshell what we do. So I'm gonna share with you some programs. Stop sharing the presentation and where you can find them. I hope this was not too overwhelming. It was a bit overwhelming, but I have to show you a lot of stuff. So the presentation, by the way, can be downloaded here, Places of Power. I'll share this link after the presentation. And if you go into all our programs, you will see FIT programs per country, starting from 2 people, that you can, I hope you're seeing my screen. Are you seeing my screen? You're not seeing my screen.
No, we are not.
Okay, you're not seeing my screen. Okay, let me full screen this. Entire screen, that's gonna be better. Let's see if this works. Okay, you're gonna see yourself. That's nice.
Yes.
But this is my screen, and basically these are the programs I was talking about. So they're per country. They're per country, and you can go into any country. And for example, this is a simple program, Rio, Amazon, and waterfalls. There is a price here. It's already including your 20% commission, and it can be booked on any departure date of 2026. It will have the full description of what's going on in the program. But there's also like more complicated, like 3 countries, 4 countries, whatever I told you about. For example, Brazil, Argentina, Chile with Patagonia. And Atacama, this is a little bit the way we went. It's more expensive, of course, and it will go to Iguazu Falls, and then it will go to Buenos Aires, and then to all those glaciers I talked about, then cross into Chile, do that national park of Torres del Paine, and end in Atacama at the salt flats I told you about. So there's all different sorts of itineraries here, over 100 of them, and feel free to just copy paste them to your own website. Even the commission is already included. And for mice and incentives, you will find ideas of what we did. This always has to be recalculated, but let's open this one. This was, for example, a small incentive group of 16 people. Last year, they did Pantanal Bonito with all the jaguars, and Lençóis Paranhenses National Park. So that was their prize. They went to those wetlands. They had the jaguar adventure, all those safaris. And then they went to the waterfall swimming, and then they went to the Blue Caves. They did the snorkel adventure, and they went to the dunes and lagoons. This was, for example, an incentive of last year. So these are for ideas. There's also plenty of stuff here, congresses, whatever. And these are the individual ones. And the PowerPoints that you can see before can be found here. This is the one I showed you. You download it in 10 minutes, and you'll have all the pictures. And I'm open for your questions.
So I wanted to say there's a couple that were in here. So one of the ones was, would you do mice activities in the favelas, or is that more for sightseeing?
Where? In where?
In the favelas? Am I saying that correctly?
Oh, in the favelas. Favelas have been done a lot by mice, especially the mountain I showed you with the 2 peaks, the 2 Brothers Mountain. A lot of companies choose to go there and put their company flag, like we had Bosch doing that, for example, and stuff like that. So they do like a van or a motor taxis up to the base of the mountain. They walk up 1.5 hours, and they do their company flag, and then they can choose to go down to the favela or not. It's optional. If a company has a social aspect to it, like Bosch wanted to have something social in it, Yeah, they went. And then they go to the school, they visit the school, they visit the local inhabitants. And then there's like this terrace. There's a German guy that runs a hostel there, and he has this terrace overlooking the water, the ocean. And he serves them caipirinhas at sunset. It's quite a nice experience. Yeah, it's not like a favela. It's not a dangerous place. It becomes dangerous once in about 20 years. Then we don't go there. But yeah, for 20 years, it's completely fine. So yeah, it's like it depends on the group and what they want, And then there's pharmaceutical companies that have very strict policies saying they would never do that. So it's like depending. But there's also so much trekking outside of favelas. I showed you a couple of them. So yeah. I guess that's the answer. Yeah.
Thank you. And then the other question was, is it easy to get entrance tickets to the Sambadrome?
Yeah, with us it's easy. We buy our tickets. Well, if you need a lot, if it's a group, we buy our tickets in September, and we would love to know in September if you're coming with a big group. But tickets like up to 10, 15, we can get them, the day before. We are good in getting them. Of course, the price goes up, but yeah. September is
the closer you get.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay. I think that was it for what people typed in the chat, but you're welcome to take yourselves off mute and ask any questions that you would like to of Anna.
Yeah, I would like to ask another question. Thank you very much, Anna, to go through all of the Southern America in such a 1 hour. I mean, we're very, very speedy. We really were listening and really, I mean, it's one world and one continent. It's fantastic to see that. Thank you so much. But I would like to know as well, because if we speak mice, yes, there is an incentive. The mainly, I mean, out of our Europe region, the mainly maybe have 4 nights, 5 days. What would be a perfect size for mice incentive agencies? I know there can be 100s, 150, but what would be a normal, really good, easy access, like to the Sambadrome, or to go and transfer them easy around? Would it be like 50 people, or would you say it's still go for 100? What is the easy way?
So buses are up to 42. So if you have to go, if you want to be in one bus, it's 40. And then if you want to have 2 buses, 3 buses, it depends. We will put a guide in every bus. And depending on where you want to go, if you're talking about just Rio, like basic Rio things for the carnival or something, you can do, multiples of 40. If you go to Angra, for example, I showed you the tropical islands. We can take a big boat of 150 to navigate the islands, or we can take small boats of 10 and they race against each other. This can also be up to 150. If you go to faraway places like the Pantanal, we had a group of 45 in the Pantanal. I had to split them in 4 groups of 10, and they would do the activities but still stay together in the evening. I did have to put them in 2 lodges. So this really depends on where you're going,
Yeah. And also if you go for mice is incentives, meetings, incentive, congresses, but what about group series? If you want to do study groups going around, back to back, having 10 to 15 or to 30 people, how would you feel that? How long should they stay? Is it more like going around in one country about 1 week, 10 days? What would you say for group series?
Again, with their budget and their interest, because I'm like, right now I have a couple that's traveling for a month. It's not for everyone to travel for a month, right? Most people, if you're talking incentives, they usually have very short time. 5 to 7 days is the maximum I've seen in my practice, especially for biggest groups. If it's study groups or family groups or university groups, they often will have between 10 and 12, 14 days. But as I showed you, all the locations need at least 3 days, 2 nights. And if they have a particular interest to study, for example, specific bird somewhere or specific something, they even need more days for that, dedicated to that. And the distances are quite big. So yeah, you're gonna really have to see the budget and what they really want to do. Of course, if you will launch a lot of groups and you want to sell them, you are gonna have to make maybe 10 or 12 days itineraries so you can get more people. But I think it's more your side, like that you get more people to fill in all the departure dates. Because from my side, I can show you stuff for 2 months without stopping. Yeah,
I know that. I mean, all the 5 countries, I would say, really, that's more like mainly one country. You need probably 10 days to maybe get a small little picture of it. It is never enough time.
Yeah, of course. So it really depends on the interest. Yeah. But it's. I think it's more like what's sellable. I think the most sellable, because things can become expensive for For mice, for short mice are the 5 days they typically do. And typically mice will stay in Rio de Janeiro and go to the islands around, or sometimes they stay on the beach. If they're Latin American, if they have Latin American, a lot of Latin American countries included, they always want the beach because we have good beaches, but Peru and you know, all those countries don't really, Chile, Argentina. So they usually will choose a beach location like Angra or Buzios or the one Iberostar I showed you near Salvador, and they will do something around that. If they're more coming from Europe or something, they will usually do Rio and the beaches around Rio, like maybe the UNESCO village, or maybe, you know, the beaches around Rio. And if they're like, if they have a little bit more days or they have a wider perspective, they can do the national parks, which are super cool, of course, like face to face with a jaguar you never forget in your life, you know? So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Anything else? No? Well, then thank you very much for your attention. If you guys have more questions, I'm still here, or type me. I will share the presentation. I will share the Google Disk with all the ideas. And of course, we tailor make everything you want. So it's just up to your fantasy what you would like to start to work with. Nikki, do you want to say something?
Kindly share.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Kindly
Oh, go
share the
ahead.
link with us for the records. Please share that one because
Sure.
that what we can
I'll
really
send you
use
an email. Yeah.
to share with our clients. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we'll also send out an email with a replay link, just in case anyone you know that missed it, that might want to listen to it. And as always, we're here to help you with anything that you might have for your groups. So thank you so much for joining today. Thank you, Anna. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your attention and for the enthusiasm. Bye, guys.